And they can talk about how that overinflated sense of self protects them from this feeling of inadequacy, of brokenness, of inferiority. Hi everybody, Steve Halley here with the Family Peace Initiative, and welcome to the April edition of the Facilitator's Tool Chest vlog. Each month I try to just put something out that might help us all think about things and consider, how we can pursue getting better at our craft. Last month I put out something on the survival-based type 1. The hallmark of those individuals is that they're highly dependent on their relationship and that they have very few eggs in their basket or emotional supports, perceived emotional supports, and they have extreme emotional restricted expression. Well, that's the type 1, but the type 2 of the survival-based is just a little bit different. They are highly dependent, but they're not highly dependent on the relationship. They're more highly dependent on their image and their status. And the relationship is a part of that image and that status. And so while they might be dependent on how they're perceived, how their place in the community, their place in the corporate structure, whatever it would be, the relationship serves to keep that image propped up. It keeps that status propped up. And so when somebody who is type 2, when their relationship starts to crumble, it's not necessarily that they're desperate about the relationship, losing the relationship, but they're desperate and panicky about losing their status, losing how people view them in their world. And so these people commonly, when they come in, are very self-confident. You might call them narcissistic, but at a minimum, a very inflated sense of self. And many times they can be the most contentious people in the room. They really give facilitators a hard time. The type 2 would be the kind of folks that are expecting to see your credentials and what it is that gives you the right to be the facilitator for this program, and why is this program even used, and what is it, what's it based on? And they come in questioning and challenging the facilitator, as opposed to coming in and just kind of blending in and figuring out what's going on and trying to apply it to their own lives. That it is prime material for facilitators to kind of get sucked into power struggles, into arguments. If we don't carefully manage ourselves in these situations, it can really disrupt the whole program, while this type 2 person kind of blows it all up and keeps the class from doing the work that's at hand, right? Because they are, self-inflated, overinflated, and they want to be able to show the world that they're smarter, that they are superior, and that they know what they're talking about. So when working with the people that come in with this type 2 perspective, right, a challenging but really critical piece of it is helping them to turn to an internal focused dialogue. And I've been talking for years about the easiest way to turn conversations to an internal focused dialogue is through Mad, Sad, Glad, and Afraid. When we're able as facilitators to help participants talk about their emotional selves, and not necessarily the external focused feelings like being mad, right? But moving that to sad and afraid, the adverse feelings that we're not excited about talking about, we don't want to talk about, we are actively avoiding talking about that. When we're talking about sad and afraid, we are commonly moving into an internal focused dialogue. And that's where transformational change lives. And so with the people who are narcissistic, right, they want to maintain this inflated sense of self, and they don't want to be talking about what they're afraid of, what they're sad about, things that are the softer emotions, the adverse feelings. And so my first effort is, after I build relationships and kind of work to develop an alliance with them, is to be able to help them begin to explore the adverse feelings that come living with fear of losing that status, of being seen as less than, about losing that relationship and how the relationship will damage the status of that. And so the doorway into kind of letting the air out of the overinflated sense is really starts with the conversation of sad and afraid. If you can develop strategies to help people explore that, then you're into the doorway of helping to navigate through that narcissistic, overinflated type 2 individual. There's a lot of other things out there I love to talk about and realize how the narcissism and the overinflated sense of self is just the other side of the coin for people who feel high degrees of shame. Right? The narcissistic bent is the overinflated sense. The shame would be the underinflated. I'm no good. I'm worthless. I'm this. And those are very intimately connected. I think about them as the two sides of the same coin. And it's very common for people who are narcissistic, when you are able to get them into an internal focused conversation, they can access that shame. They can talk about what happened to them long before they were cruel to anyone. And they can talk about how that overinflated sense of self protects them from this feeling of inadequacy, of brokenness, of inferiority. I just had a man the other day in the room who was talking about, I have to be the smartest person in the room. And if I'm not the smartest person in the room, then I will fake it. I will just make sure that I'm the smartest person in the room. I have to be seen as superior. I have to be seen as this at the top of the mountain. And if I'm not at the top of the mountain, then I have to be afraid and do something to make it look like I'm at the top of the mountain. That's fear. What's the danger for you if you're not the smartest person in the room? And now we get into an internal focus conversation. So we've talked about the type 1 last month, the type 2 this month. They're both sitting in your rooms right now, and I hope that you can begin to identify the people. Understanding motive will improve your facilitation in the room, because you'll be able to recognize how different motives bring with them different beliefs, different attitudes, and different risks and dangers at different times in the relationships. Not understanding motive can unintentionally help you to do something that can put victims in danger, even with the best of intentions. When we think that all of those who batter are driven by the same motives, the same beliefs, the same attitudes, the same entitlement, it's risky. And so I would encourage you to be familiar with that. We do have an online course on our website, www.familypeaceinitiative.com. There is a fee for the course. You get, I think, 4.5 CEUs. If you find that the fee is too excessive for you and it's preventing you from getting this information, give me a call, send me an email. We'll be able to find out something workable. This is very important information for you to have, at least to be able to understand, and then we can go from there. So, hey, have a great month, and we'll see you in May, and I look forward to making another one of these. And as always, thanks for everything that you do. Bye-bye.